You knew this day would come. You just didn't think it would feel this quiet. No sirens, no shouting, no gunshots. Just silence. The kind of silence that presses against your ears until you can hear your own heartbeat. You're sitting alone in your apartment, lights off, city glowing faintly through half-closed blinds. Your phone hasn't buzzed in hours. That's what scares you the most. They always call. The family doesn't go silent unless something is wrong, or unless they already know. You look down at your hands. They're steady. That surprises you. Because 3 hours ago, you betrayed the most powerful crime family in the city. And now, you're waiting. It didn't start today. Betrayal never does. It starts small. A doubt, a hesitation. A moment where loyalty and survival stop meaning the same thing. You remember the first night you met them. You were nobody. Just a guy working double shifts, barely keeping the lights on. The world didn't notice you, but they did. They saw something in you. Or maybe they just saw someone useful. Either way, they gave you something no one else ever had. Belonging. At first, it felt like protection. You weren't alone anymore. When you walked into a room, people stepped aside. When you spoke, people listened. You wore better clothes, drove better cars, ate at better places. You convinced yourself it was respect. But respect built on fear has a different smell. And once you learn it, you can't forget it. The family had rules. Simple ones. Loyalty above all. Silence above survival. Blood before everything. You followed them for years. You collected debts, delivered messages, stood behind the boss during tense meetings, watched men twice your size shrink under his stare. But the deeper you went, the more you realized something. There is no future in the underworld, only hierarchy. You either rise or you disappear. The first crack in your loyalty happened 6 months ago. Marco, he wasn't just another soldier. He was your friend. You joined the same year, took the same beatings, learned the same lessons. You both swore the oath, hands on the table, eyes forward, promising the kind of loyalty that sounds noble when you're young. Marco made a mistake, a small one, or at least, it should have been small. He skimmed money from a deal, not much, just enough to cover his mother's hospital bills. You found out first. You told him to confess. He said they'd understand. You knew they wouldn't. The family doesn't understand. It calculates. 3 days later, you stood in a warehouse by the docks. Cold air, oil-stained concrete, no windows. The boss didn't yell. He never yells. He asked Marco one question. Did you forget who you belong to? Marco didn't answer fast enough. That was his final mistake. They handed you the gun. Because loyalty isn't about following orders. It's about proving you will. Your hand shook that night. You told yourself it was necessary. You told yourself it was justice. You told yourself this is how the world works. You pulled the trigger. And something inside you went silent. That's when the doubt began. Not loud, just a whisper. If they could make you do that to him, what would they make someone else do to you? The opportunity came unexpectedly. A federal investigator approached you, not in an alley, not dramatically, at a coffee shop. Broad daylight, he knew your name. He knew about Marco. He knew about the warehouse. He didn't threaten you. He offered you something far more dangerous. A way out. Witness protection. A clean slate. A chance to disappear before the family decided you'd outlived your usefulness. You laughed at first. There is no way out. Not from them. But he left a card on the table anyway. And for weeks, you carried it in your wallet, right behind your oath coin. You told yourself you'd never use it. Until last week, when the boss started looking at you differently. You notice things when you survive long enough. The way conversations stop when you enter the room. The way orders become tests. The way loyalty is measured more frequently. The boss promoted a younger soldier over you. Not because he was better, but because he was more obedient, more empty, more replaceable. That's when you understood. You weren't rising, you were stalling. And in this world, stalling is suspicious. Suspicion leads to investigation. Investigation leads to warehouses. 3 hours ago, you made the call. You met the investigator. You gave him everything. Locations, names, dates. Enough to bring down half the operation. You expected to feel relief. Instead, you felt something worse. Finality, because betrayal isn't just an action. It's a point of no return. Now you sit in the dark, waiting. Your packed bag rests near the door. Passport, cash, burner phone. You were told extraction would happen at midnight. It's 11:42 p.m. 18 minutes feels like a lifetime. You stand and walk to the window. The street below looks normal, too normal. That's when you see it. A black sedan, parked across the street. Engine running, lights off. You freeze. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe you're paranoid. Maybe the passenger door opens and someone steps out. You recognize the silhouette instantly. Calm posture, measured steps, tailored suit. The boss's right-hand man, Adrian. He doesn't look up at your window. He doesn't need to. He already knows. Your phone vibrates. Not the burner. Your personal phone. The one only the family uses. One message. From the boss. We need to talk. No anger. No threats. Just those 4 words. Your heartbeat changes rhythm. Because in this world, when they say they want to talk, it's already over. 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes until extraction. You look at the door. Then, back at the street, Adrian is leaning against the car now, waiting, patient. They aren't rushing, which means they're confident, which means they know. The only question left is how much your phone vibrates again. Another message. You always were smarter than Marco. Your blood runs cold. They don't guess, they confirm. You step back from the window, mind racing. If you go down there, you die. If you stay here, they come up. If you run, they chase. You chose survival. But survival has consequences. A knock at your door, soft, controlled, not aggressive. 3 slow taps, your heart pounds in your ears. Another knock, Adrian's voice. Open the door, not loud, not angry, almost friendly. You don't want to make this worse. Silence fills the apartment again. And for the first time since you pulled that trigger in the warehouse, you feel fear, real fear, not of dying, but of facing what you've done. Because betrayal doesn't just destroy the family. It destroys who you thought you were. The handle begins to turn. Slowly, they have a key. Of course they do. The door opens. Adrian steps inside, alone. Closes the door behind him. He looks around calmly. Takes in the packed bag. The tension. The truth. He sighs. You should have trusted us. You almost laugh at that. Trusted them. Marco trusted them. Look where that got him. Adrian studies your face. No gun drawn, no shouting. Just disappointment, which somehow feels worse. The boss wants to see you. You swallow, and if I don't go, Adrian tilts his head slightly. You already know the answer. 11:55 p.m. 5 minutes until extraction. Your window, your door, your fate. Adrian waits patiently, like a man who knows time is on his side. Maybe it is, or maybe, for once, it's on yours. Your burner phone vibrates quietly in your pocket. Extraction team, 2 minutes out. Adrian notices the slight movement. His eyes sharpen. You made a mistake, he says softly. No, you reply. I survived. And for the first time tonight, you move first. You move before you can think. Instinct. Survival doesn't wait for logic. Adrian sees the shift in your weight, the decision forming behind your eyes. And that S when his calm expression finally cracks. You don't run toward the door. You run toward the window. 4th floor, no balcony, but the fire escape ladder sits just outside the frame. You shove the window open and cold air slams into your face. Behind you, Adrian curses. You don't look back. You swing one leg over the sill, just as his hand grabs your jacket. The fabric tears, buttons scatter across the floor. For half a second, you hang between 2 worlds. Inside, certain death. Outside, uncertain survival. You let yourself fall outward. Your hand catches the metal ladder rail. Pain explodes through your shoulder, but you hold on. You hear Adrian reach the window, but you're already climbing down. Fast. Too fast. Your shoes slip on wet metal. 3 floors. 2. You jump the last 10 feet, land badly, roll onto the pavement. The black sedan's engine revs. The driver steps out. Another familiar face. You don't hesitate. You run. The city feels different when it's hunting you. Streetlights flicker like interrogation lamps. Every shadow feels alive. Every passing car feels suspicious. Your burner phone vibrates again. Turn left. Alley ahead. The extraction team is close. But so is the family. Behind you, doors slam. Adrian's voice echoes down the block. Don't make this harder than it has to be. You almost laugh. Harder. You shot your best friend for them. How much harder could it get? You cut into the alley. Trash bins, graffiti, puddles reflecting neon signs. Your breathing grows ragged. Footsteps behind you. Not rushed, controlled. They aren't panicking. They're confident. They've chased men before. Most didn't make it far. A black SUV screeches into the alley entrance ahead. Extraction. Right on time. Rear door swings open. Get in. You sprint the last few steps and dive inside. The door slams shut. The SUV peels away just as Adrian reaches the mouth of the alley. Your eyes lock for a split second. No rage, no shouting. Just something colder. Acceptance. Like he already knows how this ends. Inside the SUV, 2 federal agents sit silent. One drives. The other watches you carefully. You weren't followed, the driver asks. You shake your head. But even as you say it, doubt creeps in. The family doesn't chase loudly. They track quietly. The city blurs past as you head toward the safe house. You feel it now. The weight of what you've done. Not fear, not relief. Something heavier. You didn't just betray criminals. You betrayed men who once called you brother. Men who trusted you with secrets. Men who would have died beside you. And you traded them for survival. Was it worth it? You don't know yet. The safe house is nothing special. Plain building. No markings. Inside, fluorescent lights hum softly. They take your phone, your watch, your wallet, everything. You don't exist anymore, one agent says. New name, new city, new life. You nod. This is what you wanted. A clean slate, a future. But as you sit alone in the sterile room, something feels wrong. Too easy, too quiet. The family doesn't lose assets like you without response. You know their systems, their reach, their patience. They don't strike immediately. They wait, they study, they let you relax. Then they remind you who you belong to. Hours pass. Interviews, statements, paperwork. You tell them everything. Warehouses, routes, offshore accounts, names of captains, names of soldiers. Every word feels like carving your past out piece by piece. By morning, the agents look satisfied. You did the right thing, one says. Did you? Marco thought he did the right thing too. 3 days later, the raids begin. News explodes. Major crime family operation dismantled. Arrests across the city. Assets seized. The boss taken into custody. Adrian, missing. That part sticks in your mind. Missing. Not arrested. Not found. Missing. They move you to another state. New ID. New apartment. New apartment. New job lined up. You stare at your new driver's license. New name. New birth date. New life. You should feel free. Instead, you feel hollow. Because survival without identity feels like floating without gravity. Weeks pass. No incidents. No threats. No signs of the family. You start believing it's over. You begin sleeping again. You take walks during the day. You almost smile at strangers. Almost. Until one evening, you're at a grocery store. Normal, ordinary, safe. You reach for a carton of milk, and you see it. A small folded piece of paper sitting on top of it. Your old name written in black ink. Your real name. Your heart stops. Slowly, you unfold it. 4 words. Blood doesn't forget blood. The store suddenly feels too small, too exposed. You look around. People shopping. Children laughing. An old man comparing prices. Normal life. But somewhere in this normal life, someone is watching. You rush home. Call your handler. They can't reach you. You're protected. Protected. Protection works against strangers, not against ghosts. And Adrian is a ghost now. That night, you don't sleep. You replay every moment, every secret route, every hidden stash, every loyal soldier who avoided arrest. The family may be fractured, and broken families are the most dangerous kind, because they have nothing left to lose. A week later, another sign. Your apartment door slightly ajar. You're sure you locked it. Inside, nothing stolen, nothing broken. Just one object placed neatly on your kitchen table. An oath coin. The same kind you swore loyalty on years ago. Cold metal, heavy, final. Your hands tremble for the first time since the warehouse. They found you. Not violently, not loudly, but deliberately. Which means this isn't revenge fueled by rage. It's revenge fueled by patience. Patience lasts longer than fear. You call your handler again. This time, he doesn't sound confident. We'll relocate you, he says. Again, but you already know. You can change names. You can change cities. You can change faces. But you can't change history. And history has a memory. That night, you sit alone in your dark apartment, holding the oath coin, thinking about Marco, about the boss, about Adrian, about the moment you chose survival over loyalty. You escaped the warehouse. You escaped the city. But you didn't escape the family. Because the family isn't just men. It's consequence. And consequence always catches up. Your phone buzzes. Unknown number. You hesitate. Then answer. Silence. Then a familiar voice. Calm. Measured. You look different with a new name. Your blood freezes. Adrian, I'm not going to kill you. He continues. Not angry. Not rushed. You already did that to yourself. A pause. You took our freedom. Now we'll take your peace. The line goes dead. You sit in the dark again, just like the first night, except now. There's no extraction coming, no SUV, no rescue. Just a life where every knock on the door could be the end. You chose survival, but survival without peace is just a slower death. And somewhere out there, Adrian is waiting. Not for the right place, not for the right time, but for the right moment to remind you, you can betray the family, but you can never leave it. You stop unpacking. There's no point. Second relocation in 2 months. New city, new apartment, new name again, new lies to memorize. You sit on the edge of the bed, in a room that doesn't feel like yours, because it isn't. Nothing is anymore. You wake up tired. You sleep tense. Every sound is amplified. Every hallway footstep is a threat. Every car that slows outside feels deliberate. You survived, but survival has turned into a cage. The investigators keep assuring you the organization is dismantled. Das is awaiting trial. Assets frozen. Lieutenants scattered. Adrian's just trying to scare you, your handler says. But you know, Adrian, he doesn't scare. He calculates. If he wanted you dead, you would be. Which means this isn't about killing you. You took their empire. Now they're taking your certainty. 3 months pass. No calls, no notes, no coins. And slowly, dangerously, you begin to relax. You begin to relax. You take a job under your new identity. Warehouse, logistics. Ironic. You stack boxes in silence. You avoid coworkers. You don't make friends. You don't attach. Attachment is leverage. You learn that the hard way. Then, one evening, as you leave work, you see him. Not Adrian. Someone younger, early 20s. Standing across the street, watching you. You recognize the posture instantly. Straight spine. Hands clasped loosely in front. Not casual. Not random. Trained. You keep walking. Don't react. Tone. Acknowledge. But your pulse starts climbing. The young man doesn't follow. He just watches. That's worse. The next day, he's there again. Different corner. Same stare. Message received. You're not hidden. You're monitored. A week later, you come home to find your door unlocked again. No forced entry. Inside, nothing disturbed. Except one thing. A photograph placed neatly on your kitchen counter. You pick it up. Your breath leaves your body. It's your mother, sitting outside her apartment, drinking tea, unaware. The photo is recent. Very recent. Your hands shake violently now. They said they wouldn't hurt civilians. The family had rules. But you broke the biggest one. Which means rules no longer apply. Your phone vibrates. Unknown number. You don't hesitate this time. You answer immediately. Adrian, you look tired, he says, calmly. You're not going to touch her, you whisper. Silence. Then, that depends. Your stomach drops. You don't get to destroy everything and walk away clean. You said you wouldn't kill me. I won't. The city has a long memory. For years, I thought I'd outrun mine. I'd build a new life, brick by boring brick, far from the shadows of my past. My name was different. My job was simple, and my days were quiet. But peace is a fragile thing. All it took was one phone call, a familiar voice laced with a threat that wasn't spoken but felt, and my carefully constructed world started to crumble. The call was about my mother. Suddenly, the past I had buried so deep wasn't just a memory. It was a monster clawing its way back to the surface. I used to be part of something they called the family. It wasn't about blood, but about loyalty sworn in dimly lit backrooms and debts paid with more than just money. I was good at my job, too good. I saw things, did things that don't wash away. Leaving wasn't an option. You didn't just walk away from the family. You vanished, and for a while, I had. I became a ghost, a whisper in a city that had forgotten my name. But they hadn't forgotten my mother. They knew she was my only weakness, the one string they could pull to drag me back into their world. The man on the phone was a ghost from my past, a lieutenant for the new head of the organization. But the one I needed to see, the one who held all the cards, was Adrian. We came up together, two sides of the same tarnished coin. I was the strategist, the quiet planner. He was the enforcer, the muscle with a volatile temper. We were once as close as brothers, bound by the dangerous life we chose. I knew he was the one pulling the strings now. To save my mother, I had to walk back into the lion's den and face the one lion I knew could tear me apart. Finding Adrian wasn't hard. People like him don't hide, they command. He was holding court in a lavish penthouse suite overlooking the city lights, the same lights I'd tried to escape. Walking into that room felt like shedding a skin. The years of normalcy fell away, and the old instincts kicked in. The air was thick with the scent of expensive cologne and cheap fear. Adrian sat behind a large oak desk, a smirk playing on his lips as I entered. He looked older, harder, but his eyes held the same predatory glint I remembered. He hadn't changed. The game had just gotten bigger. "Look what the cat dragged in," he said, his voice a low rumble. "I was wondering when you'd show up." He gestured to a chair, an invitation that felt more like a command. I didn't sit. We both knew this wasn't a friendly reunion. This was a negotiation, and the first rule is never to look comfortable. I got straight to the point. "Let her go, Adrian. This is between you and me." He laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Everything is between you and me, isn't it? You walk away, leave us to clean up the mess, and you think you can just come back and make demands." The mess he was talking about was a federal case. The authorities were closing in, building a RICO case that threatened to bring the entire family down. They had witnesses, evidence, but there were still holes. They needed an insider, someone who knew where all the bodies were buried, figuratively and literally. I had always refused, not out of loyalty, but for self-preservation. Cooperating would have put a target on my back and on my mother's. But now, they were using her anyway. Adrian leaned forward, his smirk gone, replaced by a cold, calculating stare. "Here's the deal," he began. "The feds think they have us. They have a star witness, a paper trail. But they're missing the linchpin. They're missing the context only you can provide." He explained their plan. They wanted me to cooperate with the prosecution, but not to help them. They wanted me to feed the federal agents a carefully constructed narrative, one filled with half-truths and fabrications designed to implode their case from the inside. I was to become a Trojan horse. My job was to discredit key witnesses, muddy the timeline, and introduce just enough reasonable doubt to make a conviction impossible. "You want me to sabotage the case," I stated, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. It was a brilliant, devious plan. Using their greatest threat, the insider they so desperately wanted, to become their salvation. "And if I do this?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "You get to go back to your pathetic little existence and pretend none of this ever happened," Adrian said. "You disappear again, and we never speak your name. You deliver, and you and your mother are free. You fail, or you cross me, and I'll make you watch as I take everything you love." The choice was no choice at all. My quiet life was already a fantasy, shattered by that one phone call. Protecting my mother was the only reality that mattered. "I'll do it," I said, the words sealing my fate. Over the next few weeks, I lived a double life that made my previous one look like a vacation. By day, I was a mild-mannered consultant, meeting with federal agents in sterile government offices. I played the part of the reluctant witness, haunted by his past, but finally ready to do the right thing. I spun them tales, feeding them pieces of the puzzle that almost fit, leading them down rabbit holes and dead ends. It was the most dangerous performance of my life. I had to be convincing enough to earn their trust, but flawed enough to make my entire testimony questionable when the time was right. I walked a razor's edge every single day. A slip of the tongue, a moment of hesitation could get me killed by one side or imprisoned by the other. At night, I'd have clandestine meetings with Adrian's men, receiving new instructions, new pieces of disinformation to plant. I saw the fear in the agent's eyes when I dropped a name, and the satisfaction in Adrian's when I told him how they'd taken the bait. I was a puppet, with masters on both sides. The trial was a blur of legal jargon and high-stakes theater. When I took the stand, I could feel Adrian's gaze from the defendant's table. I followed the script perfectly. I contradicted other witnesses on minor details. Details that seemed insignificant alone, but collectively created a web of confusion. I misremembered dates. I cast doubt on the authenticity of ledgers I myself had helped create. I painted a picture of a chaotic organization with no clear leadership, a collection of independent actors rather than a coordinated criminal enterprise. The prosecutor's face grew more and more frustrated as his airtight case began to leak. The defense attorney tore my testimony apart on cross-examination, just as we had planned. He exposed the inconsistencies I had deliberately planted. By the end, I was portrayed not as a key witness, but as an unreliable, vengeful ex-member with a personal vendetta. The jury was confused. The linchpin of the prosecution's case had just told them the case had no pin. The verdict came weeks later, not guilty on all major counts. The family walked. Adrian gave me a slight, almost imperceptible nod from across the courtroom. That night, I received a one-way ticket to a place I never heard of and a bank transfer large enough to last a lifetime. There was no goodbye, no thank you, just a clean break. I moved my mother to a quiet, comfortable retirement community, miles away from the city and its ghosts. I visit her on weekends. She doesn't know what I did to secure her safety, and she never will. She just knows her son takes care of her. Years have passed. I live in a small town now, under another new name. The life is simple, much like the one I had before Adrian pulled me back in. But it's different. Before, my peace felt earned. Now, it feels borrowed. I know that my freedom was bought by setting monsters free. Every morning, I wake up and see the face of a stranger in the mirror, a man who traded his soul for a quiet life. I have no friends, no connections. I keep to myself. It's safer that way. The city has a long memory, and I know that some debts can never truly be paid. This fragile piece is all I have, and I guard it jealously, always waiting for the phone to ring again. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more content like this.